brother! Let me tell y'all what, for years and years and years and years, I would have told you one very specific request from the universe. Make the Harry Potter film series, but instead of movies, make it a full-length TV show and dedicate an entire season to each book inside of the saga. Take all of the time you need to get us deeply and completely immersed within the wizarding world as humanly possible. We don't need to, nor do we want you to skip even one single beat. And for the love of all that is holy,
that's pathetic.
Please, let's try and avoid scenes where Ginny ties Harry's shoes, if at all possible. This is what I know that I've personally asked the universe for. It's all I wanted from the book to film adaptation world. And to my utter shock, it was announced earlier this year that this exact thing was going to happen. And yeah, there is a part of me that might be finding myself backing down from my own heart's greatest desire. Maybe that exact faithful adaptation isn't what I want anymore. That being said, I'm perfectly willing to be proven wrong.
Wicked.
But I actually think there might be a better way to do this TV series. So I'm going to attempt to put my finger on the pulse and provide my argument for why we don't need a true to form, faithful, page-by-page representation of the Harry Potter source material, because there's a better option. Today, I'll explain. Brother! Okay, let's start with what we already have. 7 iconic books that have been forged by 4 different directors into 8 complete movies released over the course of 10 years. There can be no doubt that through the years, the vision and direction for these films zigged and zagged at times in terms of style and format, so the end result can arguably be a bit of a hodgepodge, and like any adaptation from page to screen, things didn't always perfectly translate.
Harry, you put your name in the goblet of fire.
He said, calmly. Okay, I'm sorry, I know that one's just kind of low-hanging fruit, but as the films went on, there can be no doubt that Dumbledore had a bit more of a Gandalf level of intensity than the calm, cool demeanor that we always sort of knew and expected from that character. But more than that, there's the issue of not being able to cram everything from the books into the film. The maze, for example, in Goblet of Fire is largely just some scary looking hedges. We don't have any blast-ended screws or Ludo Bagman at all. The mirror that brings Dobby to Harry and company's rescue in Malfoy Manor is, as book readers know, a gift from Sirius Black before his death. He is meant to have the other half of the mirror. It's a way that the two can communicate safely. But if you're just a film goer, did it ever bother you why on earth Harry was asking a mirror for help, where it came from, why it was broken? But this wasn't just like during the long form books. This was true from the very beginning.
Snape is one of the teachers protecting the stone.
Is he now, Hagrid? Tell me, which obstacle did he contribute to? The answer is obviously the potions riddle, which, of course, isn't in the movie. And to be fair, I totally get it. The extended cut of The Sorcerer's Stone is over 2 hours and 40 minutes long. It's a lengthy film by any standard, and to be fair, they did pack a lot into it.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
But so you might be thinking, like, wouldn't that be more a point in the argument for faithful adaptation? Take 10 to 12 hour-long episodes. Let Harry and Hermione drag Norbert in his cage through an entire castle in the middle of the night to send off with Charlie's friends from Romania. Although, actually, to be fair, that entire scene only takes like 1 sentence in the books, but you know. But while we're on that point, film version of Harry Potter, take the moment to let us know that Moony, Padfoot, Wormtail, and Prongs of the Marauders map are Remus, Sirius, Peter, and James. Actually, give us Voldemort's full backstory, complete with gaunt relatives during Dumbledore's lessons with Harry in Half-Blood Prince. Or, you know, Winky, Peeves, I could go on. The Death Day party! Actually, being completely candid, I can take it or leave it.
Nearly headless? How can you be nearly headless?
On the whole, I think all of these things would absolutely make for a series that could triumph over the originals. It's an opportunity to take something that was pretty darn close and allow it to go all the way. And I'll be clear, I am never going to be disappointed if that's what we ultimately get. The small issue I personally run into is that despite the fact that the original films at times missed the mark or left some things out or were stylistically variant from year to year based on who was at the helm, there are also some things that were just absolutely and utterly perfect. I mean, did you see Harry and Ginny kiss for the first time? Like, awkward. No, but what I mean though is that like some casting, for example, can arguably never be topped. I mean, Robbie Coltrane as Hagrid was just plucked from my own head. Maggie Smith as McGonagall is iconic. Imelda Staunton as Umbridge, I mean, she's nothing short of loathsome, but like, geez, respect. Heck, Richard Griffiths as Uncle Vernon, Kenneth Branagh as Gilderoy Lockhart.
Pretty obvious.
Emma Thompson as Trelawney, Alan Rickman as Snape. Seriously, the list can even just keep on going.
Ron Weasley.
Pleasure.
The point I'm trying to make is that while there are certainly areas of development that could be found from the original films, there are also areas where I can't possibly imagine someone doing it better.
What exactly is the function of a rubber duck?
The last thing that I would ultimately want would be to find myself in a situation where the discussions all go something like this. Gosh, well, they absolutely nailed the Triwizard Tournament in the show, but nothing could ever top Maggie Smith McGonagall. Do you see like the potential problem I'm presenting here? Like, we don't want to find ourselves aspiring for the best parts of both series to somehow be melded together in what would be the perfect representation of the saga. Meaning, for the show to take that step forward, it has to absolutely nail everything the original film series already did, and then also overcome all of its shortcomings at the same time. But even then, we have to move on to the next vital obstacle that I would argue the show is up against, which is who the show is actually being made for. But before we fully dive into that, let's take a brief moment to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Bespoke Post. Y'all know this is one of my favorites. I've been a subscriber for, no joke, 10 years, which is unbelievable, all the way back to 2014. And it's because Bespoke Post is just so much fun. What they do is curate a massive selection of what they call their box of awesome, and those boxes contain goods from small businesses and up-and-coming brands from the world over. My personal latest box was called Styled and features an amazing set of shower essentials, including a body wash, conditioner, purifying shampoo, a pomade for styling, and surf spray for that perfect wind-blown beachy look, you know what I'm saying? I personally have been loving these products. They smell amazing and work great, and my wife's own words only yesterday were, where did these come from because I am obsessed. And I don't know, it feels like a win to me when your wife is using your hair care products. Or if you want to know what my first ever box was from 10 years ago, was the Frontier box, which comes with some amazing everyday carry essentials. Honestly, especially if you're getting Bespoke Post as a gift for someone, this is a great starting box. But speaking of gifts, you can also get a free mystery gift with your first monthly shipment when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter code SUPER at checkout. That's boxofawesome.com, code SUPER for a free mystery gift with your first monthly shipment. boxofawesome.com, code SUPER. Okay, but back to business. Book-to-screen adaptations often feel like they're taking on one of two key strategies: taking a story that is possibly lesser known and making it incredibly popular by delivering it to a more approachable medium. I would argue this is similar to Game of Thrones. Prior to its own television series, it was a very successful series in the fantasy genre, but it didn't become proper mainstream until the TV show. Harry Potter, on the other hand, already is a mainstream fandom, and as we're of course all thoroughly aware, has already been adapted into films.
Pretty obvious.
So while there can never be any doubt that a massive new series will always attract new fans, there can also be no doubt that a huge portion of the expected fan base are pre-existing fans. But then as existing fans, the best case scenario is that you nail every single aspect of the series. However, it's also a big challenge to keep people on the edge of their seats throughout it because we, of course, know where the story is going. We've all read the books and seen the movies. So what could a true-to-form TV show possibly provide to us that really grabs our attention? Or what deviations from the story that we already know would be actively satisfying? My key concern is that part of what we all love so much about the series is learning the ins and outs and specific rules that govern the world we know and love. So any deviations from that challenge that premise. This would be similar to like what we witnessed in the Fantastic Beasts saga, where McGonagall is teaching at Hogwarts, for example, long before she was ever actually meant to, or having Dumbledore and Grindelwald actually face off in a very public way between their duel as teenagers and their supposed ultimate duel in 1945. It challenges the construct of the world that we all know and love, and so the big question is, could anything they decide to include or deviate from ever actually override the book canon that we as fans are probably always going to fall back on? I mean, probably not. And so at this point you might be thinking, well, geez, Ben, are you sure you even want this TV show at all? It sounds a lot like what you're saying is that it's destined to fall short of expectations almost no matter what. There can be no doubt that reinventing this story can be a tall order, and yet it's actually what the fan base is actively known for doing all the time through forms of fan fiction. We ourselves here on this channel have dug deep into the series at times, trying to change small and subtle things about how we know the story to unfold. For example, if Harry doesn't meet Draco Malfoy at Madame Malkin's and get a bad taste in his mouth about Slytherin House, or doesn't meet Ron specifically on the train, or doesn't hear from Hagrid, there's not a single witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin. You know who was one. Without all of that happening, then it feels entirely possible that Harry doesn't ask the Hat to place him elsewhere, and therefore he would just straight up be in Slytherin. This modification can change everything about how the story unfolds, and yet at the same time, literally all of the key players remain firmly intact. Because it's not like James, Sirius, Lupin, and Peter weren't all still Gryffindors and Marauders. It's not like Ron and Hermione aren't still somewhere to be found in the story. Think about how it could change how Snape or even Draco ultimately view someone like Harry. It provides a massive opportunity for those edge-of-your-seat moments where a character you already know or love shows up in a capacity that you simply cannot expect. To me, the key is that it doesn't force us to compare the exact same story and execution to one another in a one-to-one capacity, but instead reinvents the saga using all of the exact same elements, players, and figures, but delivers its core audience a brand new way to appreciate it. The new circumstances, with all the same knowledge and rules in the back of our minds, would crack doors wide open for brand new speculation as to where the story will go next, even if it is still the same battle between Harry and Voldemort, good and evil. Just stick with me and imagine the following.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
Hogwarts is my home.
When I call your name, you will come forth. I shall place the sorting hat on your head, and you will be sorted into your houses.
You could be great, you know. It's all here in your head.
And I'm Malfoy. Draco Malfoy.
Plenty of courage, I see. Not a bad mind either. There's talent, oh yes. But where to put you?
Better be Slytherin!
We need a true blue Harry Potter What If series, a way to engage new fans and surprise old fans while simultaneously returning them to a world they love, know, and understand. Personally, I believe this allows it to be both nostalgic and new at the same time. But there you go, guys. Those are all of my thoughts on the brand new Harry Potter series that we could be seeing in the next couple of years. I am excited for it no matter what. There's not a situation where I'm going to be upset by what we ultimately are delivered, but I am so curious to hear your thoughts in the towel section down below. What do you think? Would you be excited about like a deviation from the standard story, especially if it's still telling overall the same saga? Let me know in the towel section down below. But guys, as always, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want to check out our entire version of What If Harry Was in Slytherin, you can do so right over here. But otherwise, until next time, bye!